Very good morning, friends. So, I hope you're safe as well as healthy. Well, in this particular month, I've started the series on Indus 101. I think one of the very interesting standards and a very practical oriented standard as well. Because this is meant for companies when they're going to apply the Indus for the first time. And the focus has been in terms of ensuring that there is a retrospective application in terms of the opening India's balance sheet. That is the balance sheet which you make on the date of transition, and that is also called the third balance sheet as well. Now, in terms of this third balance sheet, I had given you that there are certain general principle, and the general principle indirectly ensures a retrospective application. So in the previous video, I gave you the inputs in terms of the general principle that we're looking in terms of the three R and D, the R and D. That is recognition, then we can say reclassify, and then we can say remeasure, as well as derecognition. But we also said that when a company is going to ensure a retrospective application with the help of these four adjustments, now this is going to involve a lot of judgments, and this would also involve a lot of time cost, which may not justify the benefits of that retrospective application. So what Indus 101 does, that only for the first time adopters, when they are looking for the adoption of Indus 101, in order to ensure that there is a retrospective application, your opening Indus balance sheet is prepared as per the Indus itself. But we've given certain mandatory exceptions and certain optional exemption. Now, in this particular video, we're going to talk in detail about these exceptions and exemptions. But of course, we're not discussing, every category of adjustments, exceptions and exemptions, but we'll throw a little broad outlook in terms of what is this E in E, what I, popularly call it as. Let's find this out in this video. Examinations close हैं दिसंबर के अंदर, और मेरे ख्याल आपकी प्रिपरेशन अच्छी स्ट्रॉन्ग चल रही होगी, और अब ज़रूरत है कि आप अपनी प्रिपरेशन को थोड़ा सा टेस्ट करें, और इसके लिए अनअकैडमी पर आपके लिए आ रहा है ऑल इंडिया मॉक टेस्ट। सी इंटरमीडिएट के जो बच्चे दिसंबर के लिए अपनी तैयारी कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए बोथ सब्जेक्टिव और एमसीक्यू लेवल्स पर टेस्ट कंडक्ट किए जा रहे हैं। 15 नवंबर आपके स्टार्टिंग डेट है फॉर ऑल द सब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट ऑफ डिफरेंट पेपर्स, जिसको आप लाइव और नॉन लाइव मोड दोनों के अंदर दे सकते हैं। मॉर्निंग में 10 AM to 1 PM आपके ये टेस्ट कंडक्ट होंगे। जो आपके एमसीक्यू बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस हैं, इनके टेस्ट 14 नवंबर से शुरू हो गए हैं, और ये आप रात को 8 PM to 9:30 PM दे सकते हैं। इनके लिए आपने कोई पेमेंट नहीं करनी है। आपने इसके अंदर ये टेस्ट सीरीज कंप्लीटली फ्री अवेल कर सकते हैं। डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स के अंदर आपको एक लिंक मिलेगा, जिसके लिए आप इन टेस्ट के लिए अपने आप को एनरोल कर सकते हैं, और वक्त है कि आप अपनी प्रिपरेशन को टेस्ट कर लें, ताकि कहीं कोई नीड हो तो आप इसके अंदर उस पर इम्प्रूवमेंट्स कर सकते हैं। जैसे ही आप ये टेस्ट दे देंगे तो आपको इनके सॉल्यूशंस भी आपको शेयर मिलेंगे, तो आप इसे अपने फ्यूचर रेफरेंस के लिए इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। तो करना कुछ नहीं है, डाउनलोड कीजिए ऐप, एनरोल कीजिए, एंड लेट्स क्रैक इट। Well, as you can see that there is a chart, and which says there are two headings. One is, you can see the mandatory exceptions. Mind the words, the word is mandatory exceptions, and the other is what you call the optional exemption. Now, first of all, let's understand what is a mandatory exception and what is an optional exemption. As we said earlier, the basic idea of, making an opening Indus balance sheet on the date of transition is to give a starting point to the Indus. But considering that there might be a lot of, complications with a complete 100% retrospective accounting, the standard setters had one thing in mind, that we want to prohibit the retrospective application in certain cases. So that's what they call the mandatory exceptions. Now, these mandatory exceptions are given in the Appendix B to the Ind AS 101, which prohibits an entity from doing any kind of retrospective application. Now, there are a total of almost 8 exceptions which are given in the Appendix B, but considering the major technical adjustments which generally we confront in the examination as well, you can say that there are a total of 4 mandatory exceptions we going to deal with. One is, you can say, the estimates. We know that we require a lot of accounting estimates in terms of making financial statements. So what is the status of the estimate made as per the previous gap, and the estimates what you're going to do as per the Ind AS. The second is on the derecognition of financial assets and liabilities. And the third is NCI, because NCI is something which is going to be very different in terms of the previous gap as well as in terms of Ind AS. And the fourth exception is in terms of the government loans, especially when we're talking in terms of the concessional government loans. So we're going to speak about, a few of them, that is 4 out of these 8 exceptions in the coming video. Then the other area is in terms of what you call optional exemptions. Now, when I say optional exemptions, it means that the entity is being told, okay, in these particular cases, you've got a choice. You want to apply a prospective accounting, not an issue. You want to go for a retrospective application, boss, it's your choice. So it's like a pick and choose. And let me tell you that in terms of the optional exemptions, it's not that an entity, when makes an opening Ind AS balance sheet, would be told to avail all the optional exemptions. You can pick and choose, any of the few exemptions you want to avail. It's a basket full of a total of 20 exemptions, and you can pick and choose. Maybe you want to avail a particular exemption in a certain area of accounting, and you don't want to avail a certain exemptions in another area of accounting. You can do that. And out of these 20 exemptions, we are given the complete exemptions in terms of Appendix C as well as Appendix D. Now, there is only one area which is given in terms of Appendix C, and that is the business combinations, where the restatement of business combinations is completely optional. That if you want to restate your business combinations with a retrospective impact, you can do that. And if you choose, no, I'm not going to do the change in accounting, I followed my AS 14 using a pooling of interest in a purchase method, and I want to continue with the same, you can do that. But of course, even if you choose not to restate, there are certain things which still need to be done. Let me also tell you that especially in terms of Appendix B, if you choose not to do, any restatement of business combination, it is not something, which will suffice. There are certain things still which need to be done. So our focus will be mainly in terms of that if you choose not to restate, then what are the, recognitions and the measurement, things which would follow. Then there is almost a good list in terms of Appendix D. And out of that, considering the examination, I think almost the 5 exemptions are most important. One is the share-based payment. One is the deemed cost, which is meant for PPE, investment property, ROU asset, as well as intangible assets. One is the long-term foreign currency monetary item. Then there is investment in subsidiary, associate, and JVs. And one is in terms of compound financial instruments. So we can say now in a nutshell that once a company is making the opening Ind AS balance sheet on the date of transition, which is a starting point to the Ind AS, we need to ensure a complete retrospective accounting with the help of 4 adjustments RD. And then in order to give a little relaxations to the company, you've got the concept of E and E, which is given in the Appendix B, C, and D. So the Appendix B, mandatory exceptions, prohibition, and the Appendix C and D is an optional exemption, a matter of choice. Now what we're going to do in the next videos, coming videos, is we're going to pick up these exceptions and exemptions and discuss some very crucial exemptions and exceptions with you in the coming videos. So once you're able to catch up with this, then you know what is to be done in terms of the opening Ind AS balance sheet. That's all in this video. Thank you for watching, and wait for some more good stuff coming in. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.